Hello, friend. Welcome back to At Home with Holly. My name's Holly. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. I'm bundled up because I just came out from my garage, which is freezing, and pulled some stuff because I want to turn some of the things that have been sitting in my freezer into yummy products. So I've got 3 things that I pulled from the freezer today. It is freezing outside. It is snowing. I don't want to be out there. So I had some bags of cranberries. I'm going to turn into cranberry juice. I'm a Cosmo girl. So I thought having little jars of it canned would be fun because then I only have enough for like a mixer. I like that. And then I also had some beef suet, so beef fat. And I had some pork fat. Leaf lard, the good stuff from when I had my hog and my cow. So I think I've never rendered it down before, but I think I'm going to render it down because that sounds like a delicious thing to have on hand to be able to cook with or bake with or all the things. So we're just going to make good use of our time. I'm going to get 2 crock pots and I'm going to put 1 fat in each crock pot. And then I'm going to get some jars and some sugar. And we're going to can up cranberry juice, which supposedly all 3 of these things are very easy to do. So I'm excited that you're here. Let's get started. So I've got 2 bags of cranberries. And I've got 1 bag of pork fat and 1 bag of beef fat. So I'm going to get these 2 fats sliced up, diced up to a similar size that they roast evenly or that they melt quickly and evenly, I guess. And then I'm going to, once those are in the slow cookers, then we will get to work on the cranberry juice. I'm excited to have these 2 products on my shelf. I've had these oops, you guys are falling. Are you getting tired? I've had these, there we go. I've had these 2 fats in my freezer for let me see, about 3 months on this and about 6 months on this. I thought I had 2 packages of the beef, but I can't find where I put the other one. So it's probably at the bottom of my freezer. So there probably needs to be a freezer organization day. But I'm excited to have these products in jars and be able to use them. So let me get 2 crock pots over here on the counter and we will just dice and drop right into the crock pots. So now this is the leaf lard. So it's the lard on the pig. You either get the fat that comes around the organs, and that's like the good fat that you want. They also have back fat, which is another place you can get the fat from. And they're all fine, but the stuff around the organs is definitely a little more clean. And my butcher did an excellent job. There's like nothing to even trim off of this really. So I'm just going to go ahead, and you kind of want this to still be frozen so that it cuts easier. The more melted that it gets, the more slippery it's going to get on your cutting board. So definitely want to kind of get this going while it's still frozen. You can also ask your butcher to grind this, or you can buy it already ground, but I don't mind just dicing it up. So now I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and although my parents did an amazing job of always, giving us healthier options, I did grow up in a time where everything was low fat and fast food and all the things. And so I'm excited to be on this journey of, cooking more from scratch and processing what I grow here and what's grown locally and making it into healthy products and using healthy fats and all the things and staying away from seed oils and just all the things that I've learned along this journey. So I'm excited that I have these products that are not going to be going to waste, because this was all something that normally would have been thrown away when you process the animals. And so to be able to have these liquid gold products on the shelf from grass-fed, grass-finished beef and locally raised pigs and hogs, I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be able to render it down and use it for all the things that I normally would have had to purchase it for. So I'm glad that we together learned how to do this today, because I was a little bit intimidated by it, and it turns out it's not that scary. Now there's different ways to do this. You can do the dry way or the wet way, where you add a little bit of water into the bottom. The theory is if you add a little bit of water into the bottom of the pot, it keeps it from scorching, because the reason it'll turn out and taste like pork or beef is because it'll start to scorch, or too many little bits of meat are left in there when you're doing the rendering. So we definitely don't have any little pieces of meat left in there, so we're good to go on that. So we're just going to keep an eye on it though, and make sure we stir it a lot in the beginning so that it gets a nice little layer of melted fat in the bottom. And I'm not going to add the water, because the only reason this stuff is not shelf stable is if you don't get all the water out of it when you're rendering it. So that is our pork. And now we're going to do our beef. So I know a lot of people this time of year are doing the pantry challenge to use up stuff in their pantry. I go through the stuff in my pantry pretty well on a rotation, because I can see it. What I sometimes forget about is the stuff in the freezer. And I know that that's kind of included in the pantry challenge. The idea is that you work hard to put up these products or purchase these products, and you don't want them to go to waste. So what I tend to do during the winter months is, I guess it's not an official pantry challenge, but it's a use up the stuff in the corners of my freezer challenge. The stuff that I haven't gone through as quick as I thought I would, or, sometimes you think you don't have broccoli, so you buy 4 more things of broccoli or whatever. So this is my way of making sure we use that stuff in the way that it was intended. So here we go. I'm going to turn both of these on high for the first 20 minutes or so. They run pretty hot. So I'm going to turn them on high for the first 20 minutes, and then I will put them down to low and go from there. Okay, so for the cranberries, I found lots of recipes. This is a fairly common thing to can. So the sugar amounts were different per recipes. The time amounts were different. So I'm going with the highest processing time and the middle sugar amount, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do mine in pints and half pints. And I'm going to see how many jars I have up here that are already washed, and we'll go from there. But I'm going to do 25 minutes instead of 20, because the extra 5 doesn't hurt anything. You can always go longer. And whenever you're doing canning, if you have different size jars, you always process for the highest, for the largest jar. So I'm just going to go with that. Processing time for quarts, even though I'm doing pints and half pints. And then I'll do the middle of the road sugar amount. So let's get started. Let me see how far these cranberries go so I know how many jars to do. So I was debating on how I wanted to process this, either in the steam canner or the water bath. And steam canner would definitely be quicker and use less water, for sure. Steam canner would be quicker, use less water. I'm going to put 1/4 cup of sugar in the 1/2 pints. What did I say? I'm going to put 1/4 cup of sugar in the 1/2 pints and 1/2 cup of sugar in the pints. But I think since it's kind of a lazy day in here, I'm going to use the electric canner. Am I doing this right? Hold on, let me check. Okay, I think I did my sugar wrong. So hold on. I think I just did twice the amount of sugar that I wanted to. So I'm going to pour off some of the sugar. Okay, that's a little better. That seemed like a lot of sugar. Okay, so you can do however much sugar you want to do. Don't do double like I did unless you really like them sweet. Okay, so these aren't going to be done when they're done processing today. These process and then they need to sit. So I'm going to get the water in the canner and top off the jars. Maybe I'll do both. All right, it's time to give our fat a stir. So this is what it's looking like after about 20 minutes on high. Got the initial starting of the melt. So that's the pork. Still got a little ways. We'll give that one about another, we'll give these about another 10 minutes on high, and then we'll drop them back down to low. so that they can just go low and slow the rest of the afternoon. So I will keep an eye on the steam canner. The way the steam canner works is you have to regulate them. I don't know if that's the right word. You have to set them. You have to do a couple test runs to see um, how it works for your elevation for your location, and then mark it. So mine has been marked with this black Sharpie. And then with the digital pressure canner, which can also be used as a water bath, I told it 25 minutes and it is doing the work for me. It is warming up, getting everything to the right temperature. It'll do the time, it'll do all the stuff. So very minimal input. But since I'm going to be in the kitchen double checking on these rendering yummy fats, I don't mind using the steam canner too. So I will take you back when it's the time for the next stirring. So what we're looking for is for that red line to be lined up with our black line, and it is. So we're going to go ahead and set the timer for 25 minutes. And this will process and steam until it's ready. All right, those just got done. I just took the lid off. And in the time it took for those to come up to temperature and finish canning, this one has come up to temperature and is about to start the countdown timer for canning. So definitely, definitely it's a joy to have this as well as an option. All right, so those will sit and cool. Those will can, and then I'll take those out and those will sit and cool as well. I'm gonna go ahead and strain the pork fat. Okay, so that's the pork fat. Now I'm going to strain the beef fat. Okay, so I have pork and beef all the way rendered down. I'm going to go ahead and put the lids on and get them sealed. So this is the pork fat. And this is the beef. So I let those sit overnight along with all the cranberry juices on the counter behind me. And then this is the next morning, and I went ahead and washed up the jars with some soap and water just to make sure if there was any fat or sugary stuff or whatever on the outside of the jars, that all that was clean before it goes into my pantry. The cranberry juice, since I added all that extra sugar and I didn't really stir it up to dissolve it, I did need, once these jars had all the way sealed and I washed them off and let them sit and dry and stuff, I did end up shaking them a little bit and all of the sugar came off the bottom and ended up dissolving. So no worries on that. And then storing the fats. A lot of people just will go ahead and render them down, and then once you use that method of sealing them with the heat seal, there's no water in there, so there's not going to be anything that would have them spoil. So a lot of times people just store them on their pantry shelf in a dark, cool location, and that's fine. You can keep them in the fridge. They'll store for, years and years. And then, a lot of back in the day, people just left them in their lard storage, just in their pantry, and didn't worry about it. So I'm not here to tell you how to store your stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep these in my pantry over the next like month or so, and then I'll probably end up keeping these in my fridge, just depending on if I have room or not. But once I open them, they'll definitely go in my fridge. So I'm excited that I have these products. I'm excited that I'm able to use them in all the ways that I haven't been able to use them before without purchasing them. So I'm pretty excited about that. And the cranberry juice, I'm excited in a couple weeks to sample that and see how they taste. So what I did was I washed and dried all of the jars just like I normally do, and then I really made sure that the tops were super dry because that's the part that I'm going to be using a Sharpie on to label. I went ahead and got them labeled, and then I actually put them in boxes. What I do is I basically save up a whole bunch of projects. So I've done the mandarin oranges, the onions, and all the things, and I will put them in boxes. And then once I have, 4 or 5 of these boxes collected with jars to be put away, I will go into my pantry, reorganize, and make sure everything has a home and that everything is in its place. And that's just kind of how I do it. So I'm not constantly shuffling stuff. So I will add these to the boxes after they're labeled and get them put away in the pantry to be enjoyed once they have finished. I don't know what the word is for what they're doing. Once they have finished melding together all their flavors to make this cranberry juice. So we got all of our jars cleaned, labeled, they all sealed, and we are good to go. Look at that beautiful, beautiful product. All of these beautiful products. That's going to do it for me today, guys. I want to thank you so much for all the likes and the comments and the shares. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. We have a whole lot more fun indoor and outdoor projects coming up over the next few weeks and years. I just appreciate you guys so much. It means so much to my family. I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye, my friend.